The air thickened, heavy with the scent of ozone and something ancient, something almost floral but tainted with decay. Amelia's voice, strained but unwavering, chanted the final syllables of the unlocking sequence. Her body moved not in steps, but in a flowing dance, a series of precise shifts and rotations that mirrored the glyphs carved into the pyramid's walls. Reese, grim-faced and watchful, pivoted, his revolver tracking Vogel's movements. The Nazi agent was a blur, a predator unleashed. Carlyle, momentarily stunned by the force of Vogel's attack, staggered back against the wall, a crimson stain blooming on his tunic. The binding stone had calls to him, he gasped, his voice thin. "We must hurry." A section of the wall, previously seamless, groaned and shifted, revealing the narrow corridor swallowed by darkness. The air rushing out felt colder, laced with an unsettling silence that pressed against Amelia's ears. "After him," Reese barked, already moving into the corridor, revolver raised. The corridor twisted and turned, a labyrinth of unseen dangers. Spectral figures, translucent and mournful, flickered in the periphery, their eyes burning with an ancient sorrow. Amelia felt a prickling sensation on her skin, the unsettling feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. "Silent ones," Carlyle murmured, his voice barely a whisper. "Guardians of the stone, do not meet their gaze, or they will draw you into their unending grief." They press onward, the darkness seeming to actively resist their progress. The air grew heavier, the silence more profound. Finally, the corridor opened into a vast cavern, illuminated by a single beam of moonlight that pierced the darkness from a fissure in the cavern's ceiling. At the far end of the cavern, bathed in the ethereal glow, stood a massive stone door, intricately carved with depictions of beings that were neither human nor animal. It pulsed with an inner light, a silent hum vibrating through the cavern. "The binding stone awaits," Carlyle said, his voice filled with a renewed sense of purpose. But their progress was not unnoticed. Vogel emerged from the shadows, a mocking sneer twisting his lips. The ornate dagger in his hand pulsed with an unnatural energy, casting grotesque shadows on the cavern walls. "Foolish mortals," he spat, his voice echoing through the cavern. "You believe you can defy the will of the Fuhrer? Caesura will be ours, and its power will be unleashed upon the world." He lunged at Carlyle, the dagger whistling through the air. Reese reacted instantly, firing a shot that whizzed past Vogel's head. The Nazi agent dodged with impossible speed, his movements blurring into a series of lightning-fast strikes. Amelia, ignoring the fight, focused her attention on the stone door. She traced the carvings with her fingertips, searching for the key to unlocking its secrets. A sudden tremor shook the cavern, dislodging rocks from the ceiling. "Hurry!" Reese yelled, battling Vogel in a furious exchange of blows. With a final, desperate surge of energy, Amelia deciphered the final sequence. The stone door groaned and began to slide open, revealing a circular chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. At the center of the chamber, floating in mid-air, was the binding stone. It pulsed with immense power, its light reflecting in Amelia's eyes. But their triumph was short-lived. A towering figure emerged from the shadows, coalescing from the darkness itself. The Shadow Lord. "The stone is mine," he boomed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Caesura will belong to me." He reached out a shadowy hand toward the binding stone, his fingers crackling with dark energy. The very air seemed to warp around him, as if reality itself was bending to his will. Reese continued his battle with Vogel, but his attention was drawn to the Shadow Lord. "We have to stop him." Amelia, her face pale with determination, knew that the fate of Caesura, and perhaps the world, hung in the balance.